Yes. We have about 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, yeah. A few people have started to join already, but we've got a few more still to come. So we've got people from the UK, Australia, America, and the Netherlands as well. So we've got quite an international.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, Jan van Luren. I just saw his name at the top.
Yeah.
So he's Dutch.
Yeah, he says good evening to you from the Netherlands. So
he says, oh,
yeah.
Yes. Well, I really want to say good evening to him, but not. He can't have that yet, can he? 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, a moment or two.
I was 50 and I had my 50th birthday in Brighton on the pedals with my son, who was at Brighton Union Art School at the time doing the Avengers. I remember that.
Yeah.
And my son wasn't Dutch at that point. He became Dutch a few years later and has never been seen since.
It's one in Amsterdam.
Yep.
Do you want a drink or anything? A glass of
water? Oh,
wine?
a glass of water? No. I think that bottle should be open. Yeah.
Okay. Is it? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yes, that's nice. Yeah. Yes. Because 2 days before the second jab, it's best that you don't drink.
Oh, really? Should I be giving this to you?
So, well, no, I've got 2 days or 1.5 still before the jab.
Oh, before the...
Yeah, the second jab. Right, it's Friday.
I swear you're not allowed to...
It's best that you don't drink, apparently, 2 days before Friday, which is not today, because today's Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh,
so
cool.
I've got half of Wednesday. Wednesday, tomorrow morning, I can get paralytic, and then that's
great.
It. And it's very good because then my nails and the glass and everything.
Yes. Yeah, lovely nails.
I have very short, ill nails, and I go to a nail bar and I have proper things, but of course can't do that now. So I had to do false sheepy ones, and all day long they've been falling off, and I've had to re-glue them. So if you see me with a bottle of glue, you'll know. Or if you notice that one is missing, please tell me.
We will, yes, we will.
Middle right hand, you're going to say.
Yes.
I was going to do them black, but I think
no, that's
white is okay. Yeah,
lovely.
No contrast. Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Have you had a nice day?
Preparing, yeah, I did really, actually. Yeah, I walked on the hill and I met so many nice people, dogs, dog people, young and pretty.
How's Spartacus?
He's fine. He wants to get in on the work. I mean, he's sitting down here. He fell in love with, shut your ears, he fell in love with Maisie. I've never seen anything like it.
But she wears a perfume that's like grass.
Yeah,
flavored,
that's what it was. Yeah, dog perfume.
It's not to do with
not to do with her. No. No, I mean he loves you all, but I've never seen such devotion. It's embarrassing. I was worried that it wasn't going to be night, but it's still at 7 o'clock dark, which is good news.
Yes, it's about 10, isn't it?
Oh, next week is this week. I think this weekend we do the clocks changes.
Yes.
Yeah, would ruin our images actually, wouldn't it? What a wonderful unit still that Linda found.
Oh, yeah, the picture.
I've seen it before, and you'd think I had it, and it's possible that somewhere it's buried here, but now I've got it from you, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's very kind of her to send it over. It was a very nice, nice picture.
Where is she?
I just see if she's if is Linda here yet?
Where's she from? Where is she?
She's from Australia.
Oh, you told me, but I didn't take it in. Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, I think she just waved to us. So yeah, I think she's.
I can't wait. There's no point in me waving yet, is there?
I'm sure just got a few people finishing off their dinner, and then we'll be ready, I think.
You've already done some.
Yeah, I've done a couple of film ones, so sort of 2 hours making one. They seem to work quite well.
Yeah, yes, I should have asked you for me to look at them just to see, how it works.
Oh yeah, I can always send you the links once they're.
Yeah.
On them first, but
yeah. Yes, if I hold my glass, my nails are in all the time, which is very good. Very good.
He barks every time I stop stroking.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that was what Maisie had to do. I mean, she did woo him.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah, she flirted with him all the time. Yeah. In the kitchen, there's a toaster. Below the toaster is a cupboard door. And if you just put your hand in, eventually you'd find some dogs and treats and biscuits and things, which I think he very much needs.
Yes. Come on in. Go with Louisa.
She's got biscuit. Dinner. Wow.
You like bones?
Anything you find would be good, but there are proper buttony biscuits which you can throw around the floor and kind of get rid of them a bit.
Right, where do you want me for this? Cool. Where would you want me on ceremony?
Yeah. I mean, there or there. I'm still weak. You really.
Yeah.
Right. He isn't bullying me and saying that I'm looking at the floor or something.
Okay.
At Westminster, you had long, lanky hair.
I did, yes. It's getting there now.
Are you getting it back? Oh, good. Yeah. I need you to have this. And I think at your wedding you still had some longer hair.
Yeah. I tend to sort of have either this or slightly longer, but after that it gets a bit too curly, and you need a haircut then. So, yeah, I generally look better when it's a bit longer. But, it'd be nice to get back to normal and have haircuts and things like that, won't it?
Yeah. Well, I need nail cuts. I do my hair. I do myself all the time. That's as long as I wear a berry. I mean, I've got the best hair on earth with a berry.
I'm just going to check if I've got any emails from people screaming for technical help or anything. No, it seems to be okay.
That's it. Yeah. It's the eagle's nest. First one on there. I was going to run it at the same time, but I did my study earlier.
I've just got a couple of minutes left, and then we'll get going.
So a couple of minutes to 0 hour, but it's nice having the chat on the right screen before, I must say. Oh
yeah, it's nice. So obviously, to those that have joined, obviously I've got some of you sent me some questions to ask during the event. But if there's anything that you think of, spare the moment.
I'll ignore the questions and just talk about what I want to talk about. Of course, I know what I should have is a glass of water, which you did offer me.
A glass of water with your wine.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Where are your glasses?
Yeah, where there can be a cup or a mug or anything. In fact, they can't really be something too ugly.
Okay.
There's a glass, either in the cupboard on the left where you are. What are you drinking? I don't mean Louisa. I mean Philip.
Got some Diet Coke, so it's best not to keep my wits about me.
Well, because I'm having jab on Friday, it's best to not drink alcohol for 2 days before.
Yeah.
So that's specifically why I'm drinking alcohol now.
Good idea. So
I've got 1.5 days of alcohol, and then, oh yes, that's nice. Then sobriety. Oh God, who's that? That shouldn't happen to a dog, should it? If it's Charissa, just let her in.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
She's a girl.
Okay.
Just had a couple of other people join us. I think literally we've just got perhaps 2 more people to find their way in. Almost there. So do you have the episode on your screen behind you, or?
No, I played it all today, but I haven't got it on.
Okay, lovely. I mean, everyone else will play it. We'll play the episode together, and then we'll just talk about it as we go.
Yeah. No. I was going to run it, but you or the question will. I mean, I'm very familiar with it now, which I wasn't. I was thinking that Peter Cushing was the baddie. He's only the baddie because he's forced to be the baddie.
Yeah, he always tends to be cast as the baddie, doesn't he? But I suppose it's sort of against type. He's not in this one. Just had another person join us. Okay, I'll give 60 seconds and then we'll get started. And anybody else that's they can obviously catch up. No problem. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we get started. So welcome everybody to this watch along with the new Avengers episode, The Eagle's Nest. I'm delighted to be joined by Renée Glynne, who is the script supervisor for many episodes during season 1, including this very episode. Renée has a very impressive CV with, I think you have the record for the most screen credits ever for a technician in film or TV. And I believe you were on the One Show a few years ago talking about that very thing. So some of your highlights, well, for me, would be the Around the World in 80 Days with Pierce Brosnan, the marvelous TV mini series. A very good film called Lady in the Fog with Cesar Romero. The Secret with Sam
Wanamaker.
And obviously from Hammer's side of it, from the horror side of it, the 7 Golden Vampires. I think the Casino Royale version with David Niven and Peter Sellers. And any other highlights you want to add to that? Or?
Well, Quatermass Experiment is a very happy memory. I left Hammer to just go back when I fancied or when they invited me after Quatermass.
Oh, you've paused.
Below my dignity at the time. I now much regret having said that so many times because they are so good.
Yeah. So you just paused a second there, but you just froze. But you were saying that you didn't want to do the Hammer horror sort of side of Hammer because most people think Hammer is horror, but actually there was a lot more to them, wasn't there?
There was, but I had a baby and I didn't want to be. I just wanted to be free to do other stuff, any stuff, rather than be trapped. So it was sort of a thing of convenience, really. But I went back to Hammer to do all the best things, I think.
Oh yeah, some very good ones amongst them. Because obviously you started out as production secretary for Brief Encounter and Caesar and Cleopatra, which again an epic film, a classic. So.
Well, actually, I really started right at the top and worked my way down to the lowest budget, no budget film in the end.
Well, I think you got some very well-known films in there, and I wouldn't say that at all. I think you have some highlights all throughout your career.
I have a film student with me now helping me. And what I would say, but she has to shut her ears, was I was invited by film school to do movies for no money. I mean, no budget, let alone low budget. And I thought, I don't think I need a screen credit, any more screen credits. I'm going to stop. It wasn't Westminster though.
But you've done stuff until very recently, haven't you? Sort of various bits and pieces. And
I mean, I got resurrected about 25 years ago, and that was just interviews. But now I'm actually in films as a kind of cameo actress. And very, very connected again. So that's very lovely.
Oh yeah.
Films. I've got literally a film studio next door. The house next door has 4 Westminster University film students, and they use their house as a studio. And there's equipment and trucks and cables quite often. I mean, it's really hilarious for me to think I live next door to a film studio at this point.
Very handy. So everybody, we're just getting the, if you want to get your copy of The Eagle's Nest ready to play, I've got it just before the optimum releasing begins. So it's sort of like a little...
there's a
background, isn't there?
Yes.
So we'll sort of pause just on the beginning of that. So it sort of starts a black screen, and it sort of starts to come close and makes and fills the whole screen. So that might be a good place for us to all synchronise.
All start, yes.
So just give people a few seconds to do that, just to make sure you've got your everything ready. And we'll just sort of take a few seconds to do that. Okay. If you're not ready, just sort of put your hand up. But we'll begin.
Yeah, no, I'm ready when you say stop.
Okay. So I'll do a countdown. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. Okay. It's just getting the logo up. Yeah, Studio Canal's just popped up. Okay, and it's now beginning. So as you say, Renée, you watched this over the last couple of days. How long had it been since you last saw The Eagle's Nest?
Oh my goodness! I mean, I won't say 40 years, but it probably was. And you sent me the videos over the recent years, so I've had a flash look. But to actually sit and enjoy it and concentrate, I hadn't for many a long year.
What were your...
And running it like now and today and yesterday, I was quite surprised to see all sorts of dots that I hadn't remembered.
Were you quite impressed with how the episode, the final product? Did you feel quite? How do you feel about seeing it for the first time in so long?
No, I'm absolutely delighted. I found it a bit difficult to follow for me occasionally, but I was very pleased with it, and it stayed my favourite episodes, throughout the series. Actually,
it is definitely one of the stronger episodes, certainly of series one. So how did you get aboard the new Avengers? Because you actually started with some of the Avengers in the 60s, I believe.
Well, I was never. They were never mine. I mean, I just went in on them as a second unit, or somebody was ill. But it must have been the associate producer who called me in, because I'd worked with him before. And I remember going to Pinewood just, to meet, not the director, but producers. And I didn't know Brian Clements at all. And I thought, I can actually do this at this point of my life. This is quite nice. And every Saturday I went to the hairdresser at that point. Or I went to the hairdresser, yeah. And I used to take the next episode with me to study it while I was under the dryer, because we didn't get the scripts, I'll say, soon enough.
Yeah. So how long would you have had sort of to do for each episode? Was it sort of like
I think they were two-week shoots each episode, and eventually we had a second unit. And I trained the continuity, who became a top continuity. She came as well an assistant who really hadn't been one at all, and I kind of I trained her, and Pat Rambo, and she'd admit that I did such a thing. And she'd been widowed from a gorgeous husband who was in the art department, and she was about 25 and he was 29, and he died. I mean, terrible.
Well, what are your sort of memories of Brian Clements, such a key figure in the Avengers world?
Almost no memory, except charming, and his writing was off stage. So I only knew him just as him visiting the set, and I even now I never got to really know him.
Would you have found that the writers of these episodes would generally have come to visit on set, or were they handy working and then sort of go?
No, and they were, locked away somewhere. But one of the directors, I don't know if I'd worked with him before, but maybe not, Robert Fust.
Yeah. And
we became really very close on the episode, and then not socially, but phone calls and stuff. And he'd made he either before that or after that, he did Dr. Phibes. But maybe it was before, otherwise I might have been on it, but I wasn't on it. But gorgeous guy. And it was so lovely. And I mean, I can't spew them out now, but all the directors and the stuntman who became director, who's
Raymond Austin.
Yeah. No, it was the most happy, fruitful year for me, definitely. I loved it.
What do you remember about Raymond Austin? Because I'm doing another one of these on Saturday, and Raymond is my guest for that one. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't remember anything that's sayable. I mean, just that he was a good guy, and I watched him from stuntman to be given the break. Something flashed through my mind that I wanted to say, but I've forgotten it, but it'll come back.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The most terrible memory and experience was working in the quarry on the hottest day in the hottest year, which was 74-ish, in this quarry with white rocks and everything. It was so hot. I mean, we all really nearly died. It was so dreadful. Dreadful.
That sounds like that probably was the Midas Touch, episode 2.
It was.
Think that would have been 76, I think that would have been.
6, yeah. No, nightmare beyond belief.
So do you have any memories? Sorry, Renée,
no, I mean, I'm talking like unhappy memories at the moment. Let's try and get some happy ones.
Well, I was going to say, do you have any memories when you were on the original Avengers series? I think you did one a Diana Rigg episode.
Only going up with John Krish to a defunct coal mine up north, and I'd worked with John Krish because really he was a documentary director, and anything he did, he had me, because in those days we were needed on documentaries, whereas now it's all digital, and certainly documentaries don't have script supervisor. But anyway, so I knew him and really rather loved him. And we went up to this coal mine, but I don't know what the episode was. And I think it was post-Rig, and it might have been, what's the next?
Oh, Linda Forson.
I think it might have been a Linda, but she wasn't there, I don't think. And any other going in on the Avengers, I don't know what we were doing. Oh, I do know, I think I was in where the people were little and the sets were enormous.
Oh, yes, I remember that one quite distinctly, yeah.
And I love, I mean, and then I did a Charlie Drake, not an Avengers short, or a feature film, I think, where he was teeny weeny and all the piano and the props were absolutely enormous, and that was great fun. But I've no idea what it was called. It must be on my credit list somewhere.
Yeah, it's quite a sort of popular story, isn't it, to have figures miniaturized and then.
Well, like the Fly, and the things like that. The Fly. I think you told me that I did Return of the Fly, and I was in full denial that I'd ever done a fly.
Well, might have been. I can't recall, but I'll have to.
And I think you said whoever it, maybe it wasn't you, but anyway, it may not have been you. But I got sent a Blu-ray copy of my Fly, but I can't play. I haven't got a Blu-ray that works properly. So this day I haven't seen it yet.
We're just looking on the screen now, just have a scene, I believe, that featured Trevor Baxter. I don't know if you remember Trevor Baxter at all. He became quite famous in the Doctor Who circles for being a story. So I think he has a little encounter in a few minutes' time with Gareth Hunt, and it's quite sort of little throwaway moment, but quite lovely.
So were we in the street shooting on the front of a house?
I don't think we've got that bit. Yeah, I think that we because obviously we just had the scene where Peter Cushing is demonstrating how he reanimates a frog and sort of going through the process. So
I see. Oh yeah, no. Yes, I know. I remember exactly that. Yes.
And that brings me to some of the behind the scenes people. Do you remember Albert Fennell at all?
Yeah, I didn't. I don't even know what he looked like, and I don't remember him. But I knew he was very much the power, behind us.
Yeah.
Maybe as producer, he was so busy that he didn't come on the set.
I think he's always been the one that people know less about. I think he was the one that was very much a bit more behind the scenes, whereas Brian was very much the spokesperson for the series. The other producer you had on this series, and which differed from the original Avengers, was Laurie Johnson, who did the music.
It would be Laurie Johnson who brought me onto the series, probably.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but I wasn't known for the Avengers, whereby I was offered New Avengers, definitely.
And it's because obviously now we're on the scene with Peter Cushing explaining the reanimation process. All of Peter Cushing.
Say again, sorry.
What are your memories of Peter Cushing?
Well, my memories of him were always that he was very reserved and very, very professional. I didn't have any personal conversations with him, I don't think, except on Golden Vampires, when he was just so sad and he wanted to fly home at a certain date, because then he'd be with his Helen up in heaven, as it were.
Because she did die. I don't know how old she was, but she left him quite a few years before he passed. So
yeah,
I know stories of him sort of saying, he was just waiting to be reunited with her.
That's right. Yeah. He was saying that the whole time we were in Hong Kong.
So he sounds quite a sweet man from.
No, very well. He's totally a gentleman. And his gloves when he's not shooting, the minute it's cut, and there's a break, he's wearing white cotton editor's cutting room gloves for whatever reason, and then he's doing his own drawing or whatever.
I want to talk about the main cast, really. What your memories of Patrick Macnee were.
Oh, such a lovely person, wonderful person, and it's so easy to work with, and humorous, and not a breath of stress or unpleasant or whatever. No, it really, really nice, and talked about his personal life, which was a big surprise to anybody and everybody, which we don't need to talk about now.
Oh yeah, I think most people know. Probably read his autobiography, or
a very unusual upbringing he had.
Very different to the British upper class characters.
Yes, I mean it was such a everything's a shock. If you tell anybody the most normal background, it's still a shock to the person you're telling it to. But his was quite extraordinary, and there was another actor. And his first name was Brian, and he had a similar background, which was always a big surprise, but that had a big effect on him. Whereas the Patrick just floated happily through his unusual background.
I mean, you've just had the scene which was shot in the car park that you mentioned earlier. I think that was shot at Stoke Poges golf club, if I recall.
Oh yes, we were very Stoke Poges quite a lot. It was Stoke Poges is Pinewood's favourite local location. But I have not shot one day in Black Park, which is adjoining Pinewood Studios. Not 1 hour even, and everybody else. Every film, well, not every film that I wasn't on, is in there, and they can't even find a tree that they haven't shot because it will recognise that tree.
Because Stoke Poges was used for Goldfinger very famously as the golf course, and obviously, yes, you say Black Park, the Carry-Ons, the Persuaders, has been Bond films as well.
So I was Burnham Beaches for everything, which is Slough come Windsor area. I was always in Burnham Beaches, and I've got a silver birch which they accidentally dug up, a baby silver birch which I planted in 1955, and it's now 80 foot high.
Oh wow!
In my garden.
Oh, that sounds very nice. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a couple of trees that we got from the Aberwicky estate where they just shot the new Bond film. You know, where we got married. There was a couple of small little trees that were just growing in the sort of dirt tracks, so they would have been either run over.
It would have got
yeah,
crushed.
So we got those a few years ago. Now they're getting quite impressive. So they're quite nice to have. Just having a look at a scene with Gareth Hunt just after he's beaten up one of the bad guys. How was Gareth Hunt in contrast to Patrick Macnee? Because obviously Gareth plays a very different character to Patrick.
No, for me, he was like the loveliest guy on earth, and never, never complaining would be the wrong word, but never wanting anything changed that was in the script or that the director didn't like what he was doing. He was just an easygoing action romantic lead, kind of. And I knew I'd worked with his mother, not his mother, his aunt, Martita Hunt, who was a very forbidding person on Caesar and Cleopatra. And then I knew that it was his aunt, and I rechecked that everybody else knows that, that he's the nephew. And of course he was. But I don't think we talked about his aunt, him and I, for some reason.
Yeah.
It actually was so busy when we were filming that you only had your personal conversations with, makeup, hair, or camera crew. The actors were so busy doing their stuff or relearning their lines or whatever. So yeah, and I mean, I hardly spoke to Joanna Lumley except would you do that differently, correctly.
Was she quite good to work
with? Yeah, she was wonderful. How she got trained. I mean, she and Gareth went to something where when you've got a naughty child, it goes to some boot camp.
Yeah, boot camp, yeah.
They went to a form of boot camp, and they weren't complaining, but they talked about it a lot.
Yeah, because I imagine also Ray Austin being the the stunt.
He probably was the main task master originally.
Yes.
But I only had him being a lovely guy.
Yeah. So we're now sort of getting into the scene shot in Scotland. What do you remember of working in Scotland and Eileen Doohan Castle in particular?
Well, I mean, I remember it all, but there's nothing daunting that comes to mind. And I was most concerned about the fishing rods, hooks, doing something dangerous.
Right. Yeah.
I was always like protecting myself if I could, because I nearly got shot with a dud bullet, of course, on a Hammer film with Leo Genn in the trenches. It was a Michael Carreras film. I'll think of what the title of the film was, and that was really dangerous because it was all in a trench, really. I only know the year that it was shot, not anything else I could tell you.
What year was it? I'll look it up later.
Yes, sort of early 57.
Early 57. Okay.
So it's 56 or 50, very, very late 56 or very early 57.
It does look quite cold in the Scottish scenes. Was it quite?
Yeah. I think it was windy and cold and raining and doing all that stuff. Definitely, it looks beautiful. It doesn't look as if the weather was bad. It looks like summer.
It does, yeah. I mean, what would be the biggest sort of challenge for you on a series like this, on an action adventure series?
Yeah, what was the biggest challenge? Well, yeah. Did we ever shoot 2 episodes at the same time, I wonder? We may well have done. And then second unit goes out and I'm having to tell them, you know, what's what, or they're ahead of us and they're having to give me notes of what they've done. And that it's kind of horrid when one's got a second unit working at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like double work for both of the continuity on the second unit and on the main unit. So I wasn't mad about that.
No, definitely not. I did have a couple of questions that came in from Linda. She was wondering, Brian Clemens has been quoted as saying that working on productions like the Avengers was like having was like a family atmosphere, you know, good times, bad times, etc. Would you describe working on the Avengers as being like a family?
It was family, but it didn't feel like the Hammer family. Maybe because when it was exclusive films, even more than Hammer, it was one like really concentrated, one film at a time, and at a much slower pace. And they weren't action. They weren't action movies. So I think action movies are harder work and more confusing for us, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I loved being up in Scotland and the castle and the monks. I mean, I was very, very impressed with whatever was going on there. It felt like a major feature.
I've just had a little comment, I think, if I can get it up for us. I've lost it now, but I will find it. Oh yes, Ian has just said that the steel bayonet was the Hammer film.
Bravo, Ian. Where is he? Do we know where he is?
He's watching, but I don't know what if you want to say where you're from, and I'll let Renée know. Yeah, well, let us know, Ian, where you're from. Oh, he's from Bradford.
I was at Bradford for a film festival. The Bradford Film Festival. Does he know about Bradford Film Festival?
I'm sure he does. I'm sure.
And actually, the film museum it's very much cameras. Equipment is in Bradford.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a new film museum coming up in Milton Keynes, I think, this summer, and there was the London Film Museum in originally it was near the London Eye, and then it moved to Covent Garden. It's become a Bond sort of orientated exhibit for the last few years, but before then it had lots of Carry On and Star Wars and all sorts of things like that. Ian said he's been to events at the Bradford Film Festival. Yeah, he's been there. Yeah, that's nice to know. Let's just see if we've got another question. Let's have a little look. Oh yes, another question Linda had was that obviously in some of your some of the film and TV shows you've worked on, you haven't been credited, and then obviously later on here. Is there any reason for that, why sometimes you would be credited or uncredited, or
just inefficiency by the post-production people? It's never deliberate, and they spell my name wrong, they spell everybody's name wrong, and there's no need for that whatsoever. I mean, it enrages me on behalf of anybody and everybody.
Yeah. I think the name is spelled wrong.
And it's wrong. It's actually wrong on the Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was on it for a year, and it never occurred to them. But I didn't see that it was wrong until it was much too late, because we never saw an episode with titles. We saw the cutting copy. Gone. Move on. Yeah, I'm now getting angry. Actually, I am.
it's a bit sloppy. There's I think a few Bond, the main title sequences in Bond films. I think one of them, Martine Beswick, who's obviously done quite. She was credited as Martin Beswick on one of hers. So, it does happen to quite a few people, unfortunately.
And she's such a wonderful woman. A positive, not frilly person, and to do that to her it really is outrageous.
Yeah,
outrageous.
That's right.
They've got, the post-production people have got the unit list and the cast list, and we all saw the cast list and the unit list, and if there was anything wrong, we immediately got it changed, and that's what was given to the post-production. So how they then do what they did, I just don't know.
So did you ever watch the Avengers as it went out, or was it very much sort of the
No, I never saw, except rushes and maybe the odd rough cut, but there was never a unit or a cast party showing, which on feature films there always is, 6 months later or a year later or whatever. But in my normal career, I never got to the showings, the
premieres and
yeah, they'd have the press, a press showing, a press showing and a trade showing, and then premieres. But we never got to any of those because we were always working on something else, because the press and the trade were during the day.
Yeah.
And the premiere or whatever, we weren't invited, with red carpet, minions weren't invited. You could go and pay for a ticket probably, but that would be beneath dignity to actually pay to go and see something that's an event.
I mean, I think that's still, unchanged. I think a little bit.
I don't think it's changed.
Yeah.
No. Like low budget film, invite everybody that's ever had anything to do with it, or no budget films are very kind and efficient about that stuff. But the bigger the film, the less they do it.
So, given the choice, you would prefer working on sort of more intimate, smaller films?
I never did big blockbusters. They never came my way, and I'm glad they didn't come my way. But when I was some age, I don't know what it was, it might have been 70 or I don't know, 60 felt old at the time. It was a very long time ago. Now I think that's very young. Oh, so only 60, they're a child. But anyway, I've forgotten why I was going to say this. Oh God. I'll have to think why I was going to say that. Was it what? Big budget and low budget. Yeah, I really don't know what I was going to say.
You say we would have preferred. You quite like the fact you weren't offered.
I know what I was going to say. I got to be 60, and I just left working with Jack Gold on films in England or Vienna. We didn't go far. Yeah, we went to Vienna a couple of times, but we didn't go very far. And I thought I'd finished with him for some reason or other, and I thought, that's lovely. I'm now back in the normal world, and what I want to do is like dramas and things like that. And the first thing I got offered was Return from the River Kwai out in the Philippines. And I thought, this isn't what this is a mini blockbuster. This isn't what I meant to do. And then for 10 years, all I ever did was go to the Philippines or Hong Kong or Thailand on locations and do war films and adventure and stuff. And I'd never meant to do that. And I enjoyed it, and it was easy, and I had a lovely time. But absolutely, it was never my intention. And then I got back to not having to do so much of that. But when I'd stopped being with Jack Gold in this rather nice, orderly life, I'd get a phone call can you fly out to Hungary tomorrow because our continuity is dead or, you know, sort of gone or is no good. And I could actually get on a plane the next day, leave my house, organise my sons, whatever age they were, and just go. Well, now I wake up in the morning and really it takes me 4 hours to actually get out for a dog walk. Actually nobody believed at the time I was doing this whiz off overnight. Yeah. Not one human believed that anyone could do that except another film technician.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's quite a very different life, isn't it, to having a 9-to-5 job and knowing where your office is. And but I suppose that you either are frightened of that or you embrace it and you.
Yeah. One of the lovely things after Quatermass experiments, I was actually pregnant. That wasn't why I left at all. In a book that's just been written by wretched Wayne Kinsey, he does a summary of me saying, oh, she was pregnant, so she didn't want to work anymore. And she left after we made a film that didn't exist. He didn't check. He didn't fact check with me.
Right.
And he should have said after Quatermass experiment, but he invented some film. Anyway, I'm still angry about that, although I love him, but I'm very angry with him. So now what was I, why am I saying all this? I don't know what that led to. The fact that I could go off overnight.
Yeah.
On Agatha, I was like here drinking something and I got a phone call. The director promoted the continuity, whose name I'll think of in a minute, to rewriting scenes. And so they were without a continuity. And I just got a hired car and drove to Bath, or got driven to Bath. Well, in those days, nobody went, hired a minicab and went to Scotland. I mean, they did it the other way. Yeah, and I did that. I arrived on Agatha overnight, virtually, and worked with Dustin Hoffman, which was absolutely wonderful, and Vanessa Redgrave, and the director who really didn't love me enough because he loved the continuity woman that he promoted. I mean, he more than tolerated me, but he was one of the directors who's very, very good director, and I've now forgotten his name, but Ian will tell us his name in a minute, I think. Ian. Who directed Agatha, Ian? And also did the series about children from the age of 4. Every 10 years, he filmed the same people.
Oh, yes.
Him. Him.
Yeah. One of the questions again that Linda had was partly going back to being credited and uncredited. Obviously, when you first started in the business, you were referred to as continuity girls, and then became which we never minded, and then it just became sometimes continuity. America were also continuity girl or continuity, never scripts. The word script didn't come into it. And then because we were on PAYE on the crew and we wanted to be, what's the word? The other thing that isn't PAYE, Louisa, when you pay tax, self-employed. I can't think what it's called, but anyway, we needed to now be self-employed and not PAYE. And so we changed our name, our title, to script supervisor, because continuity girl or continuity, we couldn't. Angela Allen was the continuity person who got that for us. And that was the only way we'd actually changed our title, which was lovely, script supervisor. And BBC couldn't do that. They still were saying some other thing, or clerk or something. But anyway, it's nice to be called script or script supervisor. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Menachem Golan he loved his technicians, but he didn't know anybody's name. And so if he wanted me, he'd just shout script or sound mixer or boom. He didn't know anybody's name, but he was a socialist really. And he didn't even have his own chair with his name.
Yeah.
He had any old chair, and he queued up at lunch with the crew to get his food. He was extraordinary. I mean, he was kind of a monster, but he so loved film. He loved film more than anybody I'd ever worked with.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I mean, did you ever see a documentary called Electric Boogaloo, the untold story about Canon Films? There was a documentary that came out a few years ago about that was very interesting.
And the film that I did with him was called Hannah's War.
Oh yeah.
And it, on the shooting material, it's supposed to run, say, 2 hours so that they can edit it down to 1.25 hours. And we shot so much, and every day I'd say, oh my God, we've just shot another like 10 minutes instead of 5. And he'd say, that's my business, like not yours. And it finished up that he had to cut out a really important role that Denham Elliott played. And he's not even in the film. And the whole thing in Hungary, where he was the spokesman for Jewish people to try and get them a chance of living and not going to a camp, but he was like a bit double two-faced, as it were. That whole stuff is nowhere to be seen. And he just couldn't listen to me at the time.
Did you work with Denham Elliott on Return to River Cross?
A lot, yeah. I seem to work with him like 4 times at least. And he knew his lines backwards, and he was absolutely wonderful. But on one film, Betty Davis, who also knew her lines backwards, in this scene kept drying or fluffing, and that so unnerved him that he lost all his lines. And he drank quite a bit. So with him being unnerved, having drunk a bit, he became so nasty because he was hating himself. So to see him turn from this kind of laid back, always looking like it's easy, it was very painful, very, 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 very painful.
Yeah, sounds it. Yeah, because you also worked with Trevor Howard, didn't you, on quite a famous way?
He was paralytic the entire time, but he was absolutely perfect, and he didn't hold us up 1 second.
Because obviously he was in Brief Encounter, but obviously then it was.
Well, he was young then. He probably wasn't wasn't even drinking at the time. We just borrowed him out of the army. And on Brief Encounter, I don't think I knew him at all. I'd known him as a guest of Gabriel Pascal on Caesar and Cleopatra round the kitchen table. Can you imagine? I was 18 and working for Gabriel Pascal on the preparation, and there'd be these lunches, and there'd be Laurence Olivier, Vivian Leigh, Alexander Korda, Vincent Korda, Gabriel Pascal, of course, Deborah Carr, and Anne Dealey and me sitting around the kitchen table. And I was like, I couldn't even say please or thank you. I was frozen with fear, or frozen with whatever.
Yeah, I think we all would be, yeah.
But working at the farm with him was, I think you have to be banished. Yeah, I think so. Can't trust him.
Very good so far.
It's so wonderful having this conversation with you, because I imagined it was only going to be Eagle's Nest and Avengers, and I thought, do I know, is there enough good stuff to come out of me about that?
Yeah.
I mean, and there's good, there's good love coming out of me about it, but there is not a lot of. But what I did want to say is that lovely still, the unit. There in the foreground is Socrates Pelendridis, who was a Greek Cypriot who came from Cyprus, and he worked in the labs, and then he got to be a spark. And on the Avengers, they gave him a break as a focus puller, on second focus puller. And he was my friend, and we used to speak cod Greek. And he became a producer of very, very low budget things, and big commercials. He'd be a producer of big commercials. And we even went to Malta. The only way I got to Malta was with his his production company. So there he is standing in the foreground of that unit, where he didn't really belong in such a foreground position, but it like moved my heart when I saw it. And he died age 60-ish. He died much too young. Yeah. But I mean, as long as you do enough in your life, we have to accept that someone's gone a bit early.
Oh yes, and obviously, dear Gareth Hunt obviously went far too.
Oh, that was just too terrible. Yeah, and we've talked about it, you and I. A lot. Yeah. And I mean, and he didn't look like a roue. I mean, I don't think he was a mad drinker or a mad drug taker or anything.
Oh, and very fit from the Avengers.
Fit, yeah, how fit you'd have to be, my God.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm still here, really, if you can consider that. But
oh really? Oh,
well, I'm a Gareth fan.
Station.
Well,
I deserve to be longevity only because I apparently do everything in medium, in control. I mean, I drink.
Yeah.
I've never smoked actually because I don't like it.
Yeah.
If I take brass, it's just in tea, or kind of not knowingly, but I've led a cleanish life. So I mean, but that doesn't. I mean, so many people that doesn't come into it. They get cancer for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. Healthy, clean living. Yeah. But the smokers and lung cancer, that I have to tell you this. I worked on a corporate documentary. I'll tell you the year afterwards. And it was, say, 10 people around an oblong table, and they were all doctors and professors, and they were discussing the smoking. And they all said, we've done a test here, there. Smoking is not harmful. Smoking cigarettes is not harmful. Can you believe that? It was for the BAT, British American Tobacco Company. And whenever I was on location, I bought a carton of cigarettes for my sons. I bought a carton of cigarettes for anybody who was important, any man in my life. Oh, here's more lovely cigarettes, and then the shock of what it really has done to a whole generation.
Yeah, there was a good film sort of based on reality called "Thank You for Smoking," and it was about how the industry was covering it all up and spinning things and making it more addictive and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I've got a very close friend now who comes here. She's age 50, looks 40, and she's a high flyer. and she's smoking all the time, and she goes in the garden to smoke. And now I'm saying, oh, please don't do that. Just smoke at the table. It's ridiculous. I don't care. But I should be saying, go out in the snow and smoke, and maybe she'd smoke less. But I haven't bothered to do a campaign of, why are you doing this? It's stupid. But nobody was like an attractive man or attractive woman way back, if they didn't have a cigarette and a cigarette hole.
Part of the culture, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
One of the questions another question that Linda had was obviously about how the role of women has changed throughout, the decades. I mean, obviously, when you started, because you said you've never had any particularly bad experiences, but
I mean, I was one of the boys, and the boys were one of the girls. I mean, that was how it was on the set from the moment that I was on a set. And that applied to if it's a female makeup or a female wardrobe. It didn't apply, when that News at 10 stuff and the panel I was on in the South Bank, it did not apply to a female camera woman.
Right.
The Sparks treated her badly originally. So there was her, who is her surname is Sophie Fiennes. She didn't have it easy. The camera, she's actually Swedish, but the English was the camera woman. The guys on the set were not respectful to her initially. She had to really work hard to win them over. So when it came to me, the interviewer said, it must have been terrible for you to be the only female on the set. I said, no, it was absolutely perfect and wonderful. And I said it 10 times, the role, because there were no male continuity script supervisor. In America, there had been some. But in England, we had one who was very effeminate. I mean, he was male, but he was like one of us, really. No man, it was beneath their dignity to learn shorthand and typing. And that's what we had to do. So that was why it was a feminine role. Yeah. So we were fated as the female, nobody, and they all swore in front of us, but occasionally they say, excuse me, I just said, whatever. And I would, as long as it's conversational and it's not, or it's just, I just hurt myself. It's not vicious. I do it myself at home, and I did it in front of my children, and I've done it in front of my granddaughter, who nearly fainted.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, just going back to the episode, what did you think of the plot, looking at it again, sort of with the Nazis and trying to bring back Hitler?
Well, no, I thought that was absolutely wonderful. I had to watch it a couple of times to find how Peter Cushing, because in my head he was the baddie, but of course he was being forced to be the baddie. But I'd forgotten about that early scene, and it was such a relief for me to see that early scene. Oh my goodness, I didn't remember it very much. I really didn't.
So I think it is a plot that does appear in some TV shows, particularly things like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., stuff in the 60s and the 70s, the whole thing of Hitler being still alive. And
yes, Boys from Brazil is particularly that sort of thing. Yeah, and there's a whole boys who were his children from his scene. Yeah. But I don't think he was alive in Boys from Brazil. But he went out. He went obviously to Brazil to spawn all these boys, I guess.
There was a very good TV series on Amazon Prime called Hunters, and that was with Al Pacino. and that was set in the 70s, and it was the idea of people hunting Nazis that were still alive. So obviously things that happen
yes.
And then of course
I can see Al Pacino. Well, in the feature of it, I can see him cycling along in New York just before he goes off hunting Mengele or somebody, I think.
Yeah, so we're going after sort of figures. There's lots of twists, and there's a sort of thing of the Nazis surviving, and I won't give it away if people haven't seen it, but it goes into the whole thing of did Hitler survive and all that, what it would be like had certain key figures, you know, and if there was still Nazis in America and what they would try to do in that time. So it's always quite like the Indiana Jones films have always had the Nazis more.
Oh, really?
Guys. There's something very fascinating about, I think, the Nazis as a almost pantomime villain, I suppose.
Yes. And people dress up for parties as Nazis, don't they?
Yes, I don't think Prince Harry should have done it all those years ago, but
I'm glad it's come out of your mouth, not mine. But yes, definitely. I mean, I've adored him, and now I'm like rather sorry for him. But that was very inappropriate. But one could laugh it off because it's fancy dress.
Yeah.
But the significance of it is more than it's just fancy dress. Really, it was just very stupid to do that.
Yeah. I think nobody minds sort of seeing them in films and stuff. So I
no.
I think it would have been.
What upset me a bit in Eagle's Nest was to see Joanna Lumley wearing the overcoat and the cap in the final scene. That was quite a shock to me now.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd have done that if we were shooting that now.
No, because I suppose also
we might have had a bonfire of all the things.
Because obviously in the 70s, I mean, you know, not so much, you know, in the 70s, the Second World War was still very much a living memory, and that's why.
Yeah, we didn't do that sort of thing in the 70s, definitely, but by the 90s or the 2000s, it's sort of, you know, old hat, really. I mean, it's like going as Napoleon, and some people would be very upset about that.
Yeah, because I know they do treat the subject of Hitler and the Nazis in this episode as being they never mention Hitler's name or anything like that, and it's all
no.
Picture and then sort of subtly.
Yes, the picture that crashed down. Yes. And I think when I first read the script, I was absolutely bowled over with excitement. I'm sure I was.
Oh yeah. It seems like it's a nice balance between sensitivity for the subject matter, still something that's still very relevant, but also
yes, it was. Yeah.
Part of it as well.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on briefly one of your colleagues, June Randall, I believe. What was she like? So she did a lot of some Bond films and quite a few.
Yes, she did. And she did The Saint, and she did all The Saint, and she did the original Avengers, a lot of that. No, she was great. We would say same age, same sort of background, very different personalities, but she was very, very well liked, and she lived to a ripe old age, as I thought, but she did go a few years ago.
She did, sadly, yes.
And she did an interview where she was better looking than even when she was a young girl. I got some bones, cheekbones, which I didn't have when I was young, which was an asset. But anyway, she was never pretty. I never really thought she was good looking, but I think she was 90 and sitting in a chair and interviewed and articulate and gorgeous. it was probably for the BFI archive data base thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just an interview, but I used to speak to her a bit, and I don't know that we used to have once a year continuity girls, as we were still then hardly script supervisors at that point, a lunch at Pinewood, and there would be about 15 of us. There'd be someone age 30, but mostly they were 50 or 60 once they started those lunches. And that was really nice. And Diana Dill, who I haven't spoken to or heard of for a very long time, was a very, very lovely script supervisor. She came into the world when it was called script supervisor.
Yeah.
And she was my big friend over the years. And I did second units for her in Greece, actually. I did a second unit of Heart to Heart.
Yeah.
You've frozen.
I've still got you, Renée, but oh no, you're back. You're back. You got me.
Yeah. It's 8. What?
Yeah, the episode's now finished, so I've just got a bit carried away with our conversation, but we will wrap it up now. Thanks very much, Renée, for joining us.
It's been absolutely so wonderful talking to you and reminiscing about anything, and a lot about what we were supposed to be doing, which is lovely Eagle's Nest. No, it's been a gift for me, another gift for me. Thank you.
Oh, that's my pleasure. Do you have any final memories of Eagle's Nest or opinions about the episode you'd like to share before we go?
No, just that Eagle's Nest is precious somewhere in my archive. What is one of the precious things that's in my archive, definitely. That's about all I can say. And it's lovely that anybody and everybody is still interested in, because the New Avengers was considered like a bad relative initially, because the Avengers were the Avengers, and not how dare we, but there were people so loyal to the Avengers that they probably never looked at the New Avengers. And then they went to Canada, and I've never seen any of those, the Canadian ones.
Yeah, the one the set that I gave you, so you might find those.
They are there, yeah. I shall work my way through them, yeah.
Because they moved to Canada because of financial problems, so they.
And it was like French Canadian, wasn't it? It was connected with mainland France, but they did it in Canada, yeah. I mean, I should have been asked to go, really, because it was still the New Avengers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but, I mean, nobody said a word, and I don't know who did them.
No, I think the New Avengers, as you say, has been a bit overlooked. I think a bit over the years, but I think it is enjoying a bit of a reappraisal. Because obviously,
I'm very happy, more than happy to hear that.
Because it's the 60th anniversary of the Avengers this year, and
yes. But I mean, I know so many people now who are age 50 or something, and they probably don't even know the name New Avengers.
Well, we won't talk to them.
No, that's right. They're banished.
Indeed. It's a very precious show, as you were saying. It's precious to us as well.
So precious.
Yeah.
So it's very, very precious. Yeah. And everybody lives. I mean, it's a very strange thing on film. Everybody lives on,
Yeah.
Lillian Gish is still alive, kind of, and Douglas Fairbanks, because they're on film, and yet the poor old man in the street, he's on a snapshot somewhere, not even on a 10x8 still, of which I owe you many 10x8 stills, and I know that, but my time has been quite difficult times, whereby haven't done that. Yes.
Well, to have that visual record and that reminder must be very special to have. And I know that I go to quite a few conventions. Obviously, we met at a convention, and so particularly the actors, you don't necessarily know what the crew look like, but you forget that you're watching something 30 or 40 years before then you meet.
I know.
And it's
I know. It's and some of them, the women or the men, you can still see who they are, who they were, and others look so aged that whereby they look totally different.
Yeah. I find Bond girls have a particularly good genetic structure that they don't seem to age. Even Honor Blackman, she was very, the way she dressed, she was very glamorous, and that was it in her early 90s. So, that's the way to be. I think most like herself.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us, Renée, and I believe you might be joining us for the last of Cybernauts.
Yes, in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. When? Yeah.
Set a date and we get the advert on all the usual places. So if you want to join us for Last of Cybernauts, we'll probably go into obviously have some more reminiscences about the episode, and also, of course, some more lovely tangents and to your Bond film and a few other little highlights.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, it's because we've done so much different stuff. It has been absolutely gorgeous, and I was thinking that I'd be very limited because it was only Eagle's Nest, but of course with Ruled the World.
Oh yes, so I just had
I see it. Thanks for everything, Isaac.
Yeah, thanks for organising the event, Philip. You're very welcome, and thanks to Renée for all those wonderful memories. Jan did say, I'm just going to see who said it first. Ian said Michael Apted. He directed.
Yes, Michael Apted, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and who is, was a gorgeous, wonderful person, but we just never were good enough. Yeah.
He did the Bond as well, and was very good. The World's Not Enough he directed with Pierce Brosnan. Michael Apted. I believe.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that was 99 with Pierce Brosnan. It was quite a very different Bond, because obviously Michael being quite a dramatic drama behind it, but not the obvious choice, but very good. I thought. Apart from the first Bond and the Russian Bond, I don't look at Bonds because there's too much action. I can't bear all that action. It drives me crazy. So I just don't look at Bonds. I see excerpts from Bonds quite happily, but I never want to watch a whole Bond because I know that there's going to be these car chases and things that bore me. No, I agree. The original ones are definitely the best. The first 4 or 5.
The Ursula Andress, and then the Russian one, and I really haven't watched a Bond since then, right through.
Well, I think you watched the best 2.
That's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. I don't suppose a real Bond fan would say that though, because they like the action, don't they?
Well, I'm quite a big Bond fan, so
I don't mind anybody else being a Bond fan.
I think we all love them all to some extent, but there's something very magical about the beginnings of a franchise, and
yes. Well, it's the same as the Batman situation, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just had a couple more comments. Yes, thank you for sharing your memories, Renée. It's been wonderful to hear about your career, and thank you very much for an enjoyable and educational hour or so. Renée, I have to go now, so Jan just said bye, but I think everybody enjoyed it, it's fair to say, so that's really, really good.
And obviously the people that have sent messages were, proper serious film devotees.
Oh yeah.
Not just you know, the fans.
I think we're all pretty serious fans, you know.
Yes, serious fans is what we want. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
I very much look forward to our next encounter.
Me too. Yes.
As we always do.
There'll be lots more to dig up, and have these wonderful fans who fill in when I can't remember.
Oh yeah, it's good to have some little support, because we never know, do we? So nice to have some help occasionally.
So later tonight, I'm going to watch this as it went out on YouTube. Am I not, or can I not?
Well, I can send you the recording private.
Oh, perfect. Better. Yeah.
Because it'll be a few days before it'll go public, but I'll give you a little preview.
Yeah.
I won't cut it or anything, so it'll be completely as it was in the night. So
thank you.
And if anybody else,
I will love that, and I'll be laying in my bed playing it over and over, I'm sure.
That'll be very kind. So if anybody else wants to watch it later, it will be on YouTube eventually. I hope you can join us for our next event. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the evening, Renee. Enjoy your wine. Hope your COVID jab goes well. And
yes. Thank you, Philip, so much.
Right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.